Hi everyone, it's Tim here. So first of all, apologies for the rather clickbaity title, but it is actually relevant to what I want to talk to you about today. So a lot of people wonder why I want to get off gas and remove it from our house for heating and hot water and all that other stuff. And there's lots of good reasons, geopolitical, environmental, all of that stuff that you've probably heard about before and maybe you've even considered for yourself. But there's another very personal reason that I want to get rid of gas. Gas is a dangerous substance, it's explosive. And although the risk is very small, certainly in the UK, you do every now and again hear of a disaster involving a gas explosion. And in fact, one of the reasons that gas has a smell is that it's a safety feature. And in fact, gas doesn't really smell in and of itself. So the smell that you detect when there's a gas leak is actually an artificial smell that gets added in to make sure that people are aware when there's a gas leak and can alert the relevant authorities and evacuate and all that other stuff to make sure that they're not in any danger. However, I've got a slight problem because I can't smell gas. In fact, I can't smell almost anything at all. I have a condition called anosmia, which basically means I have limited or no sense of smell. It's a spectrum, and some people who suffer from anosmia can smell more than others. For me, it's quite extreme. I can barely smell anything at all. Very faint traces of lemon, weirdly enough. When garlic and onions are cooking, I can just about detect that that's happening. But any other smells? No, nothing really. I can walk into a room full of leaked gas and just not know about it. So for me, it's a very sort of existential issue. If there was a gas leak in our house and Kat wasn't around to alert me to this fact, and I walked into a room full of gas, turned on a light switch, that spark that happens when you turn on a light switch, that's me gone. And in fact, until recently, I've said that the most likely way I am to die is through a gas explosion. Because I just wouldn't know. So for me, yes, there is a very personal reason for getting rid of gas, and the sooner I can do it, the safer I will sleep. But yeah, I am of course very keen on getting rid of gas for those other reasons, the environmental reason in particular, and now the more recent geopolitical activities causing gas to be a somewhat more volatile commodity than it has been in the past, perhaps. But yeah, the getting rid of gas to save my life is way up there now as well. So for many of you, this might be the first time you've ever heard the term anosmia. But recently with COVID and one of the primary symptoms being losing your sense of smell, I think more people are now aware of it than were before 2019 for sure. But it's something that's affected me my entire life. There are various causes of it, genetic, head trauma, drug abuse, those are the common ones. But for me, it's almost certainly genetic. My aunt has a limited sense of smell as well. It's better than mine, but even so, I think when I heard about her reduced sensitivity to smells, it made me realise that it was almost certainly genetic. It's definitely affected me my entire life. Some of my earliest memories back in primary school when we were all sat round on the floor, listening to the teacher, and there was a huge furore with all the other pupils there because one of the children had let off an absolutely massive fart, and obviously everybody else could smell it and lost their minds, and I was just sitting there going, "What? I don't understand what's going on." So I always assumed that maybe I had a cold and couldn't really smell things properly. But these sorts of things kept happening. Like when we had a greyhound as a pet, he would also release the most god-awful stinks from his rear end, and my family would start running around, opening windows and shooing the dog out of the house and all that stuff. And again, I wouldn't know and didn't know what all the fuss was about. So it gradually occurred to me, probably around 7 or 8. I got to the age where I thought, hang on a minute, this isn't just a cold. This happens to me all the time. Maybe there's something unusual about my sense of smell. So when I was younger, I didn't really know if this was a very common thing or not. But with the advent of the internet, I was able to discover that it did indeed have a name. So, I'm not the only one who suffers from this. And with obviously COVID in the last few years, a lot of people have had temporary loss of smell, and that's affected them quite badly. But for me, because I've obviously had it my entire life, I've known no different. And when people discover that that I've got this condition, almost universally the first thing that people will ask, and I can guarantee that some of you are desperate to know, they ask, well, does that mean you can't taste as well? Because a lot of your sense of taste comes from what you can smell. And well, the honest answer is, well, I don't think it affects me. As far as I can tell, I can taste just fine. I don't think I'm as sensitive as other people. Maybe if subtle differences in tastes from one meal to another, I wouldn't necessarily be able to detect that, but I certainly know what I like, and I have preferences and likes and dislikes. But I don't think it affects me. So perhaps because I've had it my whole life, it's not something that I've become reliant on. So maybe my taste has developed sufficiently well that it can do all the things that normal people's senses of taste can do, but just without the that extra layer of sensation through what you can smell. So please, in the comments, do not ask me whether I can taste or whether things just taste like cardboard, because no, I can taste just fine, and things do taste different. It doesn't all just taste like cardboard. So hopefully I've headed off at least a few of those comments. So obviously I have to rely on Kat to tell me if I smell, because I can't tell if I smell or not. So she has to let me know before we go anywhere whether or not I'm stinking the place up because I've been, sweating or whatever. It's not something that particularly bothers me. It doesn't affect me in my day-to-day life in particular. But has its pros and cons. The aforementioned farts, for example, doesn't bother me at all. If you had a problem with the sewers, just give me a call. I'll be down there, no problem. I wouldn't have an issue with that at all. Well, aside from the other stuff, But generally speaking, doesn't bother me at all. But apart from the fact that if I walked into a room full of explosive gas, I wouldn't know about it. So getting rid of gas, very important for me personally, just because it just reduces my chance of mortality just a little bit, maybe. So that's all I really wanted to tell you about today. I had a bit of a gap in the schedule, so thought I'd slot this one in there. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.